ये देख लेते हैं तो नेटवर्क के साथ साथ पहले नहीं हुआ सेम टाइम पे सर आज लग रहा है पहले मुझसे वो 20 होते हैं ना
Okay, let us start, sir. Very good morning to participants from joining from New York, and very good evening to all the participants joining from India. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome all of you on today's webinar on the topic that holds immense significance for many of us: opportunities for Indian chartered accountants in the USA. We are particularly honored to have with us esteemed members from New York who will be sharing their insights and experiences and shedding light on the prospects, challenges, and pathways for Indian CAs looking to make their mark in the US. But before we start, we have with us CA Hitesh Dalji, who is currently the chairperson of Sonipat branch of NIRC of ICI. I would like to request him to share his insights on the topic first, please. Hitesh ji.
Thank you, Hitesh bhai. Thank you so much for this taking this opportunity to act as moderator on such a short notice. And I would also like to thank Sanjay Vatsa sir, जिन्होंने इतने short notice पे within 2 days इतना अच्छी मीटिंग ऑर्गेनाइज करने में इन्होंने अपना कीमती समय दिया. And I guess we were lucky कि इनके पास मंडे का दिन फ्री था. और आप सभी लोगों का वेलकम जिन्होंने इस सेशन में आने के लिए अपना समय निकाला, कीमती समय. कुछ लोगों का मैसेज आज दिन में गया, किसी को कल रात को गया था. तो कोशिश करेंगे अगली बार थोड़ा टाइमली हम इवेंट मैनेज करें, लेकिन अभी के लिए आप सब आए, इसका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. तो नितिश जी, ओवर टू यू. आप सेशन प्लीज कंटिन्यू करिए. थैंक यू.
So, before we start the session, I would like to acknowledge the presence of dignitaries who have joined the webinar. C.R.P. Gupta ji, who is my mentor as well as mentor for many of the chartered accountants. He has, made a number of valuers and insolvency professionals. So we welcome you, Gupta ji. We also have with us C.A. Deepak Garg ji, who is the past NIRC chairman. We welcome you, sir. We also have with us Varun Vatsi, who is the immediate past chairman of the Sonipat branch. We also have with us CA Vijay Lathwal ji, vice chairman of Sonipat branch, as well as we have with us Paramjit Singh ji, who is also immediate past chairman of Hisar branch. And if I am missing anyone, I am extremely sorry. We
Parveen
also have
Madan ji is also here. Parveen Madan ji is also here.
Parveen Madan ji is also here. He is also the past chairman of Sonipat branch. So moving forward, it is my absolutely pleasure to welcome all of you. As we all know, the profession of chartered accountancy is the one that transcends the borders. The expertise and skill of Indian CAs are recognized worldwide. Therefore, we have with us eminent speakers from New York. The first session will be taken by Sanjay Vatsa ji, and I feel privileged to read his profile in front of all of you. So, he has more than 25. He is currently the chairperson of the New York chapter. Before moving forward, we also have with us, Central Council member C.A. Raj Chavla ji. He is currently the chairman of the committee for MSME and the peer review board. We welcome you, sir. And before we start the session, I would like you to throw some light on the current topic, please, sir. It's all over you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. So, myself, C.A. Raj Chavla, Central Council member of ICI. And this year, ICI has given me the responsibility as a vice chairman of MSME and Startup Committee and vice chairman of peer review board and deputy convener of member. My compliments to CA Hitesh Dalji, who has taken this initiative to organize this webinar for our chartered accountants for global opportunities. So thank you very much for inviting me. All the best. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Coming back to the profile of Sanjay Vasaji, he is currently the chairperson of New York chapter and has more than 25 years of experience in senior C-level global leadership positions, having served as managing director at Citi, BlackRock, State Street, Merrill Lynch, etc. He has been instrumental in the modernization of financial markets and transformation of various financial firms and has realized a value of over 3 billion to the bottom line. He is a global expert and has executed innovative solutions in the area of data and analytics, end-to-end investments, trade life cycles, operational risk, business transformation, and has managed and set up shared services globally. He has led transformation and disruption through innovation, leveraging leading-edge solutions and technology that address business issues and in evolving, creating new business models and solutions. He has also focused on the design and implementation of disruptive models and technologies to enhance organizational value. Sanjay ji is currently focused on creating an ecosystem for startup and early stage revenue companies to realize their potential by scaling and growing. He is an active strategic advisor, investor to emerging platforms focused on private assets, tokenization, financial inclusivity, blockchain, and AI in healthcare, energy, and fintech. We welcome you, sir. We welcome you from the core of our heart and would like to have your words of wisdom. Over to you, sir.
Sure. Nitesh, how much time do you have?
Sir, you can take 45 minutes minimum.
No. I'll take. I won't take that much, but it'll be question and answers. And okay. Rajesh has joined me. Rajesh, my colleague from ICI New York, has also joined me. Rajesh, are you there? Are you on camera? He was traveling and he was.
Hi everyone. I'll be on camera another 15 minutes. I should be in a place to be there, but I'm
no
listening.
worries. No worries. Thank you. And Rajesh is traveling, but he made it a point to be present here. So I really appreciate Rajesh, you're taking the time. And Hiteshi, thank you. We pulled this off in 2 days. A lot of people are there, and thank you for reaching out. And Hiteshi, thank you for the introduction. I need to make my introduction more than like 2 lines, not more than those, but sometimes it's very difficult to do so. Currently, I'm also the president at Apex, which is a $1.8 billion revenue company. We've got about 7,000 people in India. We do fund administration, accounting, everything. So listen, I'm going to be very, I want interactive sessions here because I don't want it to be a monologue. I want it to be a dialogue. Sometimes we don't do that, and that's a problem. So if you have any questions in your mind, please ask them, and please ask them anything. So yes, I am a chartered accountant. I'm also an MBA. But I can tell you this, that the chartered accountant degree has helped me in various ways. So, when you look at the opportunities in Americas, of course, there are huge opportunities as an accountant to be in the accounting profession, which Rajesh will touch on, right? And be the financial controller, finance director, and follow that path of line, right? Which is very lucrative, which is very good because our education and our discipline on what we do and the courses we go through, right, is immense. It's tremendous, which allows a chartered accountant to actually not only practice accounting, but also to practice, but also be able to be knowledgeable about the business, which allows him to do accounting, right? If I have to add 2 + 2 = 4, that's a very simple thing to do. But if I have to have a debit and credit match, that's very simple to do. But what is the information? What is the story behind it is what we have been trained to do, right? We've not been trained to just do debits and credits. We've been trained to do a story which results in debits and credits, which results in the P&L being produced, balance sheet being produced, disclosures being made. And these are all elements of how we look at the business from an accounting lens. So clearly, that is a skill set, and I want to apologize to all my CPA colleagues, but that's a skill that only our profession, the Institute of Chartered Accountants, provides to their accounting profession. When you go to CPA, when you go to any other elements or anywhere in the world, they're very focused on accounting, how you do debits and credits, how you account for X, Y, Z, but not the relevancy of it in the business sense. So because of that, Indian chartered accountants are very, very prominent and have had a successful career in multinational companies in this country relating to being in the accounting profession, in the finance profession, whether it's finance accounting, P&A, of course, the big four, audit fours, and all those things. So as an accountant, you can be in the accounting profession and proceed. And it's a very lucrative profession. You can help startup companies. You can go up to the CFO level and everything else. Now, the challenge on that is also that a lot of American firms are outsourcing their services to India, right? They manage book services and everything else and outsourcing CFO services. So that is the challenges where they may not require people onshore, but they definitely need people offshore to support them onshore. But again, as you progress down the ladder, then at some point in time, you can come onshore and help manage the global team. Now, when I look at the accounting profession, there are two elements. Today, everyone's focused on public markets, right? So you do public listed companies, you do all those elements. But what you don't do is all the private companies. So with the advent of digital assets, which is happening very fast, private equity, private debt, GPs, LPs, this full element. So just as a matter of introduction, my firm has $1.8 trillion of closed-end funds. That is private funds, right? All those private funds need to have accounting. All those private funds need to have audit. All those audit funds need to have proper compliance. They need to have it quarterly. They need to report to the investors, right? And then what's coming very soon is based on the reporting, based on the valuation, there will be an element relating to liquidity that will be provided. So you won't be locked in for 9 years, 8 years, 10 years, right? So that element of private aspect of it is the one gathering a lot of momentum. So I think we as chartered accountants are very well qualified to actually help in the strength or in the competency related to the private assets, right? Because our experiences are well. Now, yes, chartered accountants will get involved in private equity, private assets to do cash flow, DCF, discount cash flow modeling as it relates to valuation of property assets and everything else. But will they have regulatory requirements to be registered as that? I do not know the answer to that question, but there are people like Kushman, JLL, CBRE who does that. So if the prep is good, then the other people can stamp it. So that's where I think we are going down that path. So I think, so you look at your profession, accounting profession, very good. You can go into the aspect of audit. You can go into the aspect of financial FP&A, financial planning and analysis, or you can do pure accounting and go down the control. So these are 3 tracks you can follow in a company. And independent of the company, you can actually join firms that provide audit, but you can also join firms that provide outsourced CFO services to people, right? That's becoming a very, very prevalent thing in this marketplace, especially to private GPs and LPs on SPVs or LLCs that have been set up. So that's clearly a conduit for people. I will pause there. I will ask if there's any questions. I'm not following the chat, so if someone's following the chat, if there's any question there, let me know and I'll ask a question. And I'll answer it. Okay. Looks like that's no question. But clearly, this is the bread and butter. This is clearly the element that one goes down the path. The second thing is, oh, sorry, Bhavya, you have something?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yes.
I am a transfer pricing practitioner. I have around 2 decades of transfer pricing experience with Big Fours as well as industry. And I've set up my practice recently. And I actually specialize in transfer pricing, and we do benchmarking and all. We are doing it for different countries as well, including India and other countries. So I wanted to just understand how, if I want to, get some work from USA as an outsourced transfer pricing professional, who can, prepare end-to-end transfer pricing benchmarking report, as well as provide advisory services, etc., related to transfer pricing and international tax. Do you see that as a possibility? Or because that is just one aspect, that is not like a complete CFO services or a whole domain of services. So how can I approach or go about it?
Well, how you can approach and everything else is a matter of how you market it and how you do the sales. But what you have to do is through your network and through other people's network, you need to get connected to companies who have got who need international tax presence. And I'm assuming, Bhavya, you are supporting international tax as it relates to India, not international tax as it relates to global, correct?
So global as well. So I
have global as well. So
right,
what you have to do is you have to reach out to various corporation, global corporations who have to then who have this capability. And actually, this is a you're providing a component-based service, right, on the tax side. I just want to approach the tax. So there is a lot of demand for that. There is a lot of requirements for that. So what you have to do is you have to reach out to corporations, or you have to reach out to various tax professionals, companies in this country who provide that service to their to the various LLCs, to the various individuals, and to the various corporations. You have to reach out to them and become a provider of services to them through them to their clients. That's your best approach, I would say. On transfer pricing, and use transfer pricing and use asset pricing, right? Asset pricing, I would assume, is that you can do asset pricing as it relates to a real estate asset or a private equity firm. Bhavya, where were you going with that?
No, I mentioned transfer pricing, advisory, as well as compliance,
Okay.
and international tax planning advisory.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So on the transfer pricing, clearly there are multitude companies here. You should approach the audit firms, because transfer pricing in America is important, but it's not very critical. It's not.
It's quite established now, what I understand, since it's been there for many years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's established, but people take it as run of the mill. No one believes in it. So I think that's where you have to reach out through or audit and accounting firms that actually do that. But there are a lot of management consulting firms that provide these services like Bain, Brown, and all those things. So you should be a conduit to them. So what I would suggest is, Bhavya, unless you're willing to buy a company here, or unless you're willing to set up a marketing team here, you need to be channeling your resources through somebody else. So I hope I've answered your question.
Right. Yeah.
Karan,
thank you so much.
I think Karan Goel had a question.
Yeah. Good evening, Sanjay sir. Thanks for giving your precious times to us.
Sure.
Sir, I'm a newly qualified chartered accountant in practice in India. Most of the members joined here must be with the same point of view as I am concerned with them. I want to look for the opportunities overseas, and currently I'm working as a freelancer for an Australian accounting firm also. So, what are the currently opportunities in USA or in other countries so that I can get work overseas, like on assignment basis? And I'm also ready for the option to, move abroad and settle down there over there. Next year, also, I'm planning to have a visit of 15 to 20 days in USA. So as you were saying that you should connect to the companies and build a connection with CPA firms and finance MBA firms to get work opportunities. So, sir, how can I do that? Please, can you guide me?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think these are very specific questions, so it becomes very difficult for me to tell you to how to guide you. But what I would say generally is, if you're willing to come to America and so first of all, to come and stay in America and getting a green card and all those things is a massive, massive problem, right? So I'll leave that right there. So if you're thinking of doing that, forget it, unless you come through a EB-5 and requirement. But again, I'm not an immigration attorney, so you need to talk to an immigration guy. But if you're coming here, you should try to connect to all the ICAI chapters and then see what do they have. Maybe they'll require outsourcing services and advisory service, just like you're doing freelancing for Australian company, you could be doing freelancing for them. And then you can do it out of India. So I think that would be my best bet to you. And when you come here, try to meet up with mid-sized audit firms, tax firms, and consulting firms, right? Who
Yeah,
provide
yes, sir.
FP&A services, audit firm services, and everything else. So
Yeah,
that would be
sir.
my suggestion.
How to get a connection established with that firm so that I can. First of all, I am coming on a B2 visa in USA. I'm not thinking about green card currently.
No, but I think we're getting into the immigration discussion in a very specific case. I think my only issue, my only answer to your question, Karan, is that you need to, through the Institute of Chartered Accountants, connect with all the chapters here in Americas and set up meetings with them when you're coming in advance, so that you can visit all of them and then you can understand what propensity you have and everything else. So whether you come on a tourist visa or B2 visa, I can't advise you, but clearly you can have meetings no matter how you come. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Nitaji, I want to be careful. I'm not getting into the immigration and specific cases, right? I think
Absolutely right.
we need to talk generally on it, right? Because every case is different.
Right.
Okay, Vaibhav, you had a question, or Gunjan?
Yeah, sir. This is Vaibhav from Pune. See, I'm a post-qualification experience of around 20 years. Plus, I did my MBA from Zicklin School of Business, New York, City University of New York, Uni. So
Yeah.
now when I look at it, I have all my friends. I mean, I came back to India, but all most of my batchmates are in US, either working with Big Four or BlackRock, Blackstone, or JP Morgan kind of companies. Okay. So is there a possibility I can get some outsource work from those contacts? Because I don't have much contacts with the medium or small size CPA firms in US.
Well, I just answered the question to the previous person is saying, why? But first of all, you've got contacts there. You should ask them, right? I know BlackRock very well. I work for the chairman of BlackRock, right? CEO of BlackRock. They will not outsource their accounting
Right.
work unless you're an employee. So I'll be very honest with you. Blackstone may do it for one of their portfolio companies, right?
Okay.
But again, you need to talk to your contacts there and see what the potential is. But again, your best route is to talk to the Institute of Chartered Accountants chapters, various chapters out here, connect with them and
Right.
see when you come down here and you can meet with those people, right? So I think that's the best way to do it. These are individual cases on how you need to do it, how you need to source revenues. But yes, you can do it. People have been successful, but people have been successful by creating a complete marketing capability in this country, either directly or through third parties.
Okay, great.
Gunjan?
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Gunjan, sorry.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Sanjay, sir.
Yeah,
Coming
good
back
evening.
to the questions of others, I have been asked, what we are facing is basically in the foreign side, there is a trust issues because, in the initial stages, whenever we are approaching the mid-sized firms or, small firms, so because we are doing the first time work with few firms, so what we faces is they have the trust issues with the Indian firms. If you have a past record of works, then also, it's take a time to have the establish that trust and, build that things without visiting the USA. So can you guide us, like without visiting there also, how can, we can build that trust and, approach to them?
That's very much difficult, Gunjan. I mean, I do believe that, in the COVID time, one could understand it, right? But right now, people in America, definitely people like to touch and feel people, meet, see them eye to eye, under their body, build a relationship, and then the trust starts. Trust can also happen when you have a third party. That's why if you're not going to visit the United States, Gunjan, then my advice to you is to always market your services to a third party. But again, you have to come and visit them once a year, or you cannot do it. So it's just like me trying to do work in India and not visit India at all. First of all, I'll be taken for a ride. Second of all, it's not going to be conducive. So that's not going to work, Gunjan, without a visit. It's not going to work. So that would be my suggestion. So anyway, so that's what I would say is one aspect of the profession is accounting and everything else. And I think most of you are accounting out here. But the other aspect that I took was I started as a financial controller, but I quickly branched out of accounting into things like transformation, process optimization, re-engineering, retransformation. So I think what we miss out in as chartered accountants is that we do have a lot of skills as it relates to uh, thinking logically, and that logical thinking can be applied in processes and everything else, and to transform the business to help strategically grow the business. Because we are very strong in numbers, we would know that a business case makes sense or not, whether a certain opportunity will make sense or not. So I think that's the other area that we generally don't dwell into, because, and I'm assuming most of the people in this call are accountants, are practicing accountants, or but that's the other opportunity. The person who had asked, I think Karan asked, he's a freshly minted thing. He could start migrating and helping people and saying, hey, listen, I can help in accounting, but I can help start looking at logical thinking like business case development, strategic development, number, financial modeling around it. All those elements become very, very conducive, and that becomes a stepping stone towards becoming going into the transformation and re-engineering element. The combination of our accounting experience, our logical thinking, and then looking at it, all those elements on a process side really helps the business quite a bit. So I just wanted to reflect on that too, because that is often missed out. That can cause the differentiation from you from the other people. And that's a very, very solid thing that we should not, we should always think about and be focused on. Yes,
Sorry to
Karan, you have a
interrupt you,
question.
sir. So I would like to ask that will people there, if I connect there, will entertain me? They give time or not? Actually, I'm not concerned about the cost of traveling and visiting there for 15 to 20 days, honestly. But the time issue is that even if I don't get work from them, but can I get enough links to connect and talk to them and communicate whether there's any opportunity for me overseas there? Is there any kind of
Well,
appointment?
generally, Karan, generally, I find when people come from India to United States, people do find time here. But if you give them 24-hour notice, no one is going to give you any time. We get a lot of notice from ICI that, oh, people are coming in 24 hours. Everyone's busy, no one will have the time.
Yes.
Actually, the reverse is more difficult. When people from America go to India, it's very hard to meet people because they just say, oh, I'm busy, I'm busy. Everyone's busy. We are very busy here, but people normally have the tendency, because we are connected to India, to give the time required. So we do the thing, but you have to give them enough notice. You have to reach out to them. You have to talk to them. You have to explain to them. But if you're going to go and talk to them and say, hey, listen, I'm coming to meet with you so that you can give me 2 jobs, no one's going to do that. If I do that to you in India, you'll never meet me. You'll not
Yes,
even
correct.
respond to my emails,
Yes,
right?
I agree.
So I think if you say, I need your advice, how to go about doing it and everything else, and that's how you have to approach it. So I would say that more often than not, people in America, given time, they will make the time for you to do it. The opposite is not true. When we come to India, and of course I know a lot of people, so I get through people, but that people in India just tend to think that they are so busy that they cannot see anyone, and that is a that's a very negative thing, and that is one of the reasons why a lot of people in America don't want to work with people in India.
Thank you, sir.
The aspect of giving the feeling that they're more busy than they are.
Yeah, yeah. That's good.
Okay. Bhavya, you have a question?
Hello, sir. Good morning,
Hello.
sir, and good afternoon to all my professional colleagues present here. Sir, my query is like, how can start with the remote outsourcing work with US and Canada? Like, if someone wants to start with it, and what advice would you give?
So, I'll tell you one thing. Whenever you're doing a startup company, you're always doing a startup company. You have to follow the startup model, right? You have to understand how you market, how you go to market. You have to do all those elements relating to it. And those all elements are very common, irrespective whether you're a chartered accountant or any other. So I have a lot of startup companies go from the scratch to somewhere. You have to give it some patience. You have to understand how you're going to go to market. You have to come up with the list of companies that you're going to go and talk to, or the people you're going to talk to, and then have a carefully articulated program doing that, right? So just as a startup company, Bhavya, you said you need to understand how you're going to outsource it. There are a lot of people doing that. So what's your USP? What's your unique selling proposition? If your unique selling proposition is like anybody else's, right, then it becomes more difficult to establish yourself, right? So the question then becomes what relationships you have, which are the which are the companies you can help support here, which are the private equity firms you can go to who have got portfolio companies. So if you go to a private equity firm or a family office that has 20 firms, 20 investments, and you can win all that 20 companies book of business, that becomes a very important thing. But the point is you have to sell yourself, you have to show what your USP is, and then you have to you have to establish trust by meeting with them, by showing a commitment to do something, right? So that's what I would suggest is where you should how you should go about doing it. Just like just a typical startup company, and you have to go through the entire rigorous process of go to market and all those elements relating to it.
Okay.
I'm not sure who it is, but Tariq, I think it's Tariq. Is it
Hi, sir.
Tariq? Yes.
Yeah, hi, sir. This is Saurabh here, actually. That is actually the YouTube name, sorry. Thanks, Sanjay sir, for your taking the time for us. And it's very good morning to you. I have a small question for me. I'm not in a practice. Actually, I'm in working with corporates, and I have experience of almost 16, 17 years as a CA, and I've done recently cleared the CPA US as well. So since I'm not in a practice, so definitely how I can explore and how I can encash my CPA. So that's a very simple question which I like to ask with you. In the job,
Rajesh, you raised the hand. Do you want to answer that question? You're more suitable to answer that question.
Yeah. So first, just and I can take a few. I'm writing down some of the questions as well, for us to sort of address all the questions that you have. And I'll come in a minute, a bit later on in terms of the opportunities as well. But first, just let me thank to the whole group here, and just absolute privilege to participate and wherever I can help as well. Just based sort of on your last response, see, I can go through a bit, when I go through a bit in terms of my journey as well, having started in India and having spent 23 years in one industry, I think the opportunities to start with a multinational that's based out of India and taking on a role and then seeing what are the opportunities that are outside of India as well, that would be a great start. The opportunity that you need to start looking for is saying, after 17 years of experience, what are some of those lead roles that are available in multinationals that are based out of India? Okay. And I will touch a bit base. So, I've been working with Wipro for some time, and I'll touch a bit in terms of my experience to go through that. So I'll come to that. But Sanjay ji, if I can take just a couple of minutes, the how and why, right? Because the theme of all the questions is a bit the why. Why would sort of US firms go outsource to India? Why would we work with, our CPA, CA community and leverage the overall finance gamut? And then the how part of it. So I can keep it a bit brief, but let me just tell you from my perspective, right? Having spent in various CFO roles across the world, now having spent the last 15 years in the US and having worked with a lot of clients here. I think the first why part of it is just cost efficiency. Okay, that whole arbitrage of cost efficiency is still not gone. Okay, we might think it has gone over a period of the last 2 decades. That thing has, I would say, our competitiveness was 1:10. It's now at 1:5. Based on the cost inflation in India, based on where we are as well. But that whole competitiveness aspect is still not gone. So make sure that when you reach out to firms in the US, to clients in the US, you harper on the cost efficiency that you can bring at scale. See, the other thing that small, medium enterprises and even large enterprises that struggle with is saying, how do I get certain level of services, whether it's accounting services, transfer pricing, all of those pieces at an efficient cost and at scale. So make sure that you have your understanding or your pitch to say that how can I do it in an efficient way and how can I scale. The second part of the why is high quality expertise. As I'm a proud chartered accountant, I did my CA. It has given me immense opportunities across the IT services industry in different countries. But when you interact with clients, high quality expertise is really, really important. And to demonstrate that with every single piece of work that you do. Because when you demonstrate, that's what builds trust. And I think somebody asked the question on trust, saying, how do you build it? That piece is very important. And you can demonstrate it in two ways. One, you can demonstrate through the work that you've already done for other clients. And what was the outcome? What was the impact for the other clients? And you can also demonstrate by saying, let's start with a pilot, see the high quality expertise that as an individual, as a firm that I can bring to you, and then go from there. Okay. The other piece is time zone advantage. We think between US and India because it's day and night time zone, but use it to your advantage. Because what clients want is, for the lack of better word, 24/7 services. And the way time zone advantages are sort of taken care of is by leveraging, saying what can clients get as output and services when, for a simple word, when everybody's sleeping in the US, can the team in India work and gain that time zone advantage, provide the services so when they wake up, those services are already delivered, or those projects are already delivered. Okay. So use it to your advantage, saying, what can it be done for a 24/7 approach to time zones. Okay. And then the how part of it, right? One piece, I think, there is an advent on GCCs. Okay, what is GCC? It's a global capability center that a lot of large enterprises in the US are building in India on the technology side. Having said that, we are not far away from building global capability centers for accounting as well. We already have so many large, some of our big fours, they run GCCs for clients based out of India. That GCCs for clients and small and medium enterprises in the US based out of India is a very, very powerful concept, because if you go and read about how large information technology enterprises are dealing with it, we can apply the same principles to GCCs in India for all finance and accounting services. Okay. But building those relationships, one way to get started is you form partnerships with US based firms. Okay. When you do that, you get both trust, network, and also virtual connects if you cannot travel to the US, when you build a partnership with a US based firm. So that would be a good starting point to say what you do and how you do it. And then,
but Rajesh, I'll just interrupt you for a second. But even to build a partnership with a US firm, you have to travel here to create that relationship.
I agree, Sanjay. I agree. So build that. But what I'm saying is, you have what Sanjay was also referring to, right? Third parties. Reach out to US based firms, CPA firms, CA firms who are looking to do that, form partnerships with them that you can get access to clients as well. Okay. The other piece I would say is investment in technology and tools. It's a huge outlier because when I spend a little bit of more time later on in my session in terms of what is happening there, is a lot of the work that we do in accounting today is going to get impacted by AI. It's already getting impacted by AI. So as a small medium entrepreneur in India as well, what sort of technology investments are we bringing to these clients which help them build that safety net? That the data that they're going to send to India, how are you going to handle that data? What sort of strong technology investments do you have? Those things will go long way. And then the last I would say is quality assurance. To me, quality assurance is huge. Again, the way to do it is, it's like, my wife is in the apparel business. Okay, the big part of gaining trust with clients in the US is you have third parties do quality assurance in the work that you're already doing. So similarly, when we do provide those finance and accounting services or different CFO services, having third parties come and conduct those audits, providing those reports independently to clients will also go a long way into it. So Sanjay ji, I just, I was just collecting all the questions so that I didn't take it from my perspective.
No, perfect. I've got another 10, 15 minutes and it'll drop off and then then you can, but Rajesh has reflected on the opportunity side. But what I wanted to say is that these cannot be leveraged unless you have build relationships, build trust, build competency, reflect them in competency. If they can rely on you, the word of mouth is enough. So the start is very difficult when you work with American firms. You have to invest some time. But once you get started, the word of mouth influence gets you a lot more businesses, right? And Rajesh talked about GSCs. So one of the things, AI, get very acquainted with AI, blockchain, because a lot of these are going to be the tool sets that will be used in the future for auditing. I've said it a few times and I'll say it again, there'll be nothing known as sample testing anymore. You'll have to understand how you can do data analytics to understand what are the exceptions, and then you pick out those exceptions. So you have to understand how you can assess the information base to understand where there could be issues, right? So that's where we are going down. We're going down that path right now. And I think if you can build competency on those space, which really helps supplement the teams in America, that's great. And then they'll start giving you more and more work. Start with something small. Start with the competency you have. You prove yourself there, they will give you more and more work. And that's what it is. But if you go for all the work at the same time without building the trust, I would find it very difficult for it to happen, right? Unless you're very lucky and your relationships are very strong. Any more questions? I've got about 5 minutes before I'll have to drop off. But Rajesh is there and he's a lot more qualified than I am. He's practicing as one of the senior executives in the Wipro finance arena. And so he can shed a lot more light, and he's got a lot of Indian chartered accountants actually, and he can give you an aspect why someone has to be onshore versus offshore.
Sir, we have 2 more questions in the chat box.
Okay. Sorry, can you repeat it or?
I'll read it for you, sir. I'll read it for you. Many of the professionals work in GDPR, that is General Data Protection Rules in European Union countries for personal data privacy. So what is the picture in US? Do CAs are working in these kinds of compliances in the US as well?
Yeah, so GDPR is a very much a European aspect relating to it. But here's one aspect. US firm, there's something like GDPR is going to come up in US at some point of time, right? US takes its own time, and there are some sketch laws here and there. But if you can approach US firms to help them on the GDPR business work, for US firms who have got European subsidiaries who have to qualify with GDPR compliance, right? You're talking about GDPR compliance here. Then that could be an opening that you can actually connect on, and you can give reference of the firms you're doing. That gets you seated into a firm. Again, small bit you're doing, that gets you inserted into that firm. They understand you better, and then you can go for more and more business. So that could be one of the avenues that you could actually pursue.
Right. Sir, one more question is there. Can you provide some standard document outsourcing agreement for scope of work and terms and conditions for B2B and B2C, which are the points which need to be agreed upon and documented? I think it is breach of actually GDPR.
So see, listen, I think of course, what functions you'll provide, what service levels so what's very important is to reflect the service levels you'll perform, right? You'll turn over the information within 2 hours, 5 hours, 1 day. You'll get the accounting books ready on a business day, month end plus 1 day. All those elements you should be prepared to answer. You should be able to understand what your pricing is. You should be able to understand how you're going to charge them. You should be able to understand what kind of confidentiality and you're willing to meet, and what kind of scrutiny you're willing to meet. Then I think it depends on which firms you approach. If you're approaching multi-corporations, they will have their own master level service level agreements. So you'll have to incorporate your capability in there, and you'll have to meet their SLAs, right? It doesn't matter what you want. But if you've got a small firm you're doing, then you have an equal opportunity to debate that. So yeah, there are a lot of standard templates available, but I can't give you a standard template. I've done a few templates here and there, but nothing on the accounting side. But they're pretty robust, and you should be prepared to understand what you're willing to do. What's most important is that they talk about the SLAs, service level agreements, and the accuracies. The second thing is, what penalties are you willing to wear? If you don't have 99.9% quality, right, and it's 99.3%, are you willing to bear some penalties on those, right? So those are the elements that you need to give it a thought process and understand your perspective, so that when they come up with a question, you can answer the question. Okay. And Rupa's got a question too.
Yeah, there are few more questions, sir. What registrations are required to work for US clients from India? Is there any licensing requirement?
No, I'll let when Rajesh answers that question later on, let him answer that question. But my knowledge is that in chartered accountancy is good enough. CPA degree always helps. Right. Those kind of things.
Another question is, what is the future of outsourcing business down the line 5 to 10 years, keeping in mind de-dollarization and falling rates of dollar?
So the service cost is going to go. So, I'll always tell something, and I've said it, and I've actually moved about 50 to 70,000 people globally and about 30,000 into India. So we created the KPO business, knowledge process outsourcing. I was the first one to do it out of India for for BlackRock, actually. And it was one of the areas I had responsibility. I always tell people that you should never approach your client by saying you're cheapest. You should talk about skill, scale, and cost. You should talk about the skills you bring into play that will give them the quality of work. And then you can scale. If they need more people, you can scale with that. And then the third thing is that you can do it at an effective cost. When you lead with cost, then in a falling dollar situation, which I am a firm believer of, right? Which I'm a firm believer of in a falling dollar, then you're competing on skill and scale. You're not competing only on cost. So don't sell yourself as cheap services. Sell yourself as competent services. That's the most important thing to understand. If you are going to approach it with cost, then every year they're going to nickel and dime you till you have no margins.
That was the last.
Unfortunately, I'll have to drop. Yeah, go ahead. I'll take the last question. Yes.
That was the last question from chat box. If anyone has any other query, they can raise their hand and can unmute themselves to.
Yeah, and Rajesh is much more qualified to answer some of these questions. I'm giving you my perspective on it, and I wanted him to be on the call because there are two perspectives to this, right, which covers the full gamut. So, but my closing comments is never sell yourself on price. Sell yourself on skill and thing. The GDPR is a very, very good avenue to start with, right? You can offer that to the American firms, and that could be skill and scale, and you have already demonstrated competency in there. So that's how you can enter into American firms. All right. Thank you very much. Rajesh, over to you. Thank you for doing this. I don't see Rajesh, but
thank you, Sanjay.
Take care. Thank you. Take care.
Sanjay sir, thank you so much for giving the time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Lot of insight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So moving on to the next session by Rajesh ji. Before we start, let me introduce the speaker of the session. Rajesh Mehta ji is a seasoned global finance operations and business leader with experience in multiple countries. He is currently global CFO of Wipro. In his roles, he has provided executive leadership focused on driving profitable growth, empowering teams at scale, developing talent, and building trusted relationships. He specializes in developing and driving execution of strategic business plans, brings brings expertise on acquisition, integration, and restructuring companies and deals, and bring a strong execution capability to drive operational excellence and business turnaround. In his roles, he has led and worked across the business, connecting the dots between sales, delivery, risk management, IT, finance, people supply chain, and HR. Of course, he is a chartered accountant, a CFA, and is fluent in English, Hindi, and French. We welcome you, Rajesh.
Well, thank you.
Over to you, sir. Over to you.
Yeah. So let me first, I first of all, leave aside the introduction. I'm one among all of you, a fellow chartered accountant. I'm also proud to be a chartered accountant as well, and I have started my career with that. So, and I can relate to a lot of you who are on the call who are either starting your career, who are midway through their career, who are even more experienced as well. So, and I don't have that much wisdom and experience that I can share, but I can share what I've learned over the last 23, 24 years, being a chartered accountant in the information technology services industry, played various chief financial officer roles in different sectors, in different countries in Europe, in the US, and having started my career in India as well. Okay. So some of it, which I can give you a bit of perspective on what I see. The last, I would say, I spent 20 years working for a French consulting firm. So I had the privilege of going through sort of a cultural, I don't know how to call it, but a cultural nirvana with them. And then the last 2 or more years, I've been working with Wipro, a proud, Indian firm who's done so well on the global scale as well. Let me start with, a few specifics, right? And I would start with a bit of the softer aspect of it before I go to the technical aspect and opportunities in different areas in finance. Yeah. Let me tell you one thing that I've learned over all these years working with US clients is to also understand the cultural aspects of what happens in the US. Being in touch with what is happening in the US, what matters to these clients, because a lot of the clients' work is dependent on how they see, whether it's elections, whether it's government, whether it's opportunities here in the US. Okay. And I'll give you one very simple example. We as fellow chartered accountants.
Sir, good evening.
Sorry. We as fellow chartered accountants can do this session on today on Monday, but it's a US public holiday today. Okay. So one piece that I would urge all of you is when you work with clients in the US, make sure you recognize what public holidays, the softer aspects of the culture, and the same for India as well, right? US clients will recognize, all the festivals we go through India as well. The reason I started with this is such an important one in order to build trust, to also understand saying some of our professionals sitting out of India truly understand what it makes to work, not just with the client for all the technical pieces that we can deliver or the outcomes we can deliver as professionals, but also understand what they do and how they do it. Okay. So I'll start with that. The second piece, I'm not an expert on the future of outsourcing services as such. But having said that, outsourcing has been going on for 3 decades now. Okay. And especially when it turns to outsourcing and opportunities in accounting, they've also evolved over the last 20, 25 years. Outsourcing is here to stay. It is not going away anywhere. Okay. For me, the very simple fact is what we can bring at scale in finance in this profession, US or Europe cannot bring at scale. So that piece of outsourcing will never go away. So I'll just leave it there for all of you. That if you're thinking about building a business, if you're thinking about setting up something, and you're thinking about longevity, which is what will I do over the next 15, 20, 25 years, it is here to stay. Let me start with, and I'll come at the end on the how and why, which I touched upon a little bit. But let me just start with a few sort of very specific opportunities that I see in finance. Okay, See, the one piece we've all got used to for a long time now is, see, everything to do with accounting, bookkeeping services that we've had, right? What one particular trend that has picked up has got to do with payroll, benefits engagement, and tax filings for employees. Okay, and the reason I say that is, a lot of you have seen the sort of accounting services, etc. come, but this particular piece has become, as companies expand their businesses globally in the US, as companies scale as well, payroll, benefits management, and tax filing for these employees has become a significant problem to do it at scale. Think about some larger companies like, Apple, Microsoft, and think about also small, medium enterprises, whether it's in the communication sector, in the utility sector in the US. They're not able to handle with enough finance talent to address this one particular area. So whoever is, thinking, I see that this particular trend and opportunity is a huge opportunity for, I would say, at least the next 10 years when a lot of this is industrialized. Having said that, what this also requires is a robust investment in technology. If you want to run the payroll for employees, for businesses in the US, and if you want to make sure that the data is secure, that payroll data is not compromised or something, you need to demonstrate that there is an investment in technology. And this is where I think partnership with a US based firm who's already doing it would be a huge opportunity. When it comes to taxation, again, we've seen a wave of taxation happening, tax services in India. I can give you examples of a lot of multinationals who've set up shops in India, large, small, medium enterprises in the US. Most of them have outsourced taxation. Okay. And a lot of the basic taxation, whether it comes to around filings, even complicated things like calculating the effective tax rate, how to manage the effective tax rate for a company, all of this is outsourced. Okay. But where it is getting more and more complex is where US firms have entities that are outside the US, and they need help in order to deal with those international taxation treaties. I think somebody earlier in the session brought up transfer pricing. It is again a huge opportunity. I would say not the transfer pricing between US and India, but transfer pricing issues that US firms would deal with, where they have businesses in Europe, in the Middle East, in Australia, and then what us as fellow Indian chartered accountants can bring to their profession, I think is another very significant opportunity. And it's getting even more complicated with laws changing every day, the interpretation of the acts, things that are local in specific countries, like in Netherlands, can be different from Germany, can be different from what's in Turkey, etc. So think about transfer pricing, but think about tax for US firms that are global and wanting to expand outside of the US. Again, a significant opportunity. And I'm touching on these specific aspects. I'm not touching on things that we've done very well over the last 20 years. Okay. Like I said, just helping a company manage its effective tax rate has been a huge opportunity, will continue to be a huge opportunity, because it involves a lot of tax planning. It involves understanding of how many legal entities you form, how do you dissolve legal entities, etc. The third one, if I pick up audit, okay, audit to me more specifically, I think so there are two areas in audit that are I would say that are getting a lot of attention because of artificial intelligence. Okay, one, which is internal audit. See, a lot of US firms have a regulatory requirement to do internal audits. Now, internal audits could be done by global firms, could be done by US based firms as well. But what is happening in internal audits up until now is they were not robust enough, because we always went through samples. We always looked through a few things and said, here are our observations. Here is what we found. Here is what we believe the processes should change towards, etc. with the advent of artificial intelligence and Gen AI, there is a whole wave of thinking that sampling will go away from internal audit because AI tools can actually help us zero down on specific things that the company should look for when it comes to strengthening their internal controls. Okay. So whoever is in the field of internal audit, think about what can you install and implement through artificial intelligence within your tool set in order to identify and do it. And the other piece that is also changing a lot in internal audit is it used to, if you go to a, let's say, a large enterprise or a small medium enterprise, to do an internal control review of the entire firm across all the different functions would have taken, in some cases, 2 years to cover it, in some cases, a year. But with the advent of AI, there are these big fours that are coming and saying we can do it in 3 months for you. Because 60 to 70% of the work of sampling, identifying, going through the process, going through the data, which is being done by us as fellow chartered accountants, can be done through AI. And then the value that we bring to those internal audits is the human value part of it, which is, how should I go and now improve the process, having found a particular fraud issue or a compliance issue in one area of the business. Yeah. So I would say that is being cannibalized a lot. The other part, wearing, my sort of chief financial officer hat, there is one particular area which is also becoming a big area of outsourcing is anything to do with financial planning and analysis. Yeah. That is another very important area that firms, and this one area is not just for the CFOs sitting in the US. It's actually for the whole management team and the CEO sitting in the US. See, with so much of data around, with so much of market dynamics, the ability to provide real-time financial planning analysis insights to all of these companies is becoming even more and more difficult. Okay, firms or even audit firms, even there are these virtual CFO services who want to venture into this area, where just from my small experience, where I've seen them struggle is where when you're sort of trying to build visual dashboards, you're trying to build analysis of data, but if you're thinking about analyzing data which is 6 months old or 12 months old, it's of no value to these firms because 6 months and 12 months can give you good trailing indicators of what happened in the past and what would she learn. But the firms, some of the virtual CFO firms that are coming up and saying, we give you predictive analytics, which is based on your past data, what can come into the future? What are the trends you need to look at? How do I look at, let's say, if somebody is operating in the telecommunications industry, if I take some of the telecommunications provider like AT&T or T-Mobile or, like our, the Geos and the Vodafones in India, if you go and tell them what is going to happen with their revenue per consumer for the future based on certain things in the industry through predictive analytics, it is of huge value to them. So the point I'm trying to make here is be more sector specific. See, if I go and say that I'm really good at providing financial planning and analysis, but I am not sector specific, I don't bring that sector domain knowledge for a particular client, I will lose 50% of the mind share of a client. But if I go and say that I know the telecommunications sector, I've worked, I understand what are some of the changes that could happen, and here is how I could help with financial planning and analytics. Again, it's a huge one because this particular area is picking up because it doesn't require any licenses. It's not like, a SOX compliance or controllership functions where you need licenses or you need certain certifications. It can be done. People who've not also done chartered accountancy, and you have a team of 20 very well graduated folks who can go into it. You don't need any sort of licenses to do that. So this one particular area for the CFO in the US and even for the rest of the management team in the US is very, very strong and upcoming, I'd say. And then the second area that I would say is linked to that financial forecasting is really providing services for capital expenditure or capex budgeting and opex budgeting. Okay. Another area that, even though this has been outsourced for some time, what is getting more and more demanding from clients is that, let's say, when we prepare our budgets for an entire year and we say, okay, this is what we can afford, this is based on the sales and the revenue that we're looking at. What clients are asking for is, don't prepare annual budgets, prepare quarterly budgets, prepare monthly budgets, because the things are evolving so fast that if we made a budget now, after 6 months, the budget can be completely redundant. It will not make any sense because the market would have moved. We would have not got the anticipated sales or revenue that we would have got. And so what clients are asking in its pseudo faction is, give us a forecast, give us a service as a forecast, saying, what can you take my data and give me forecast ahead instead of annual budgets? Okay. Let me get to the other significant opportunity. So we've seen a bit of lull, I would say, in the mergers and acquisition space over the last 2 years or so. At least what I see across various sectors and clients, that activities picked up significantly over the last 6 months. Okay, if you read acquisitions, mergers that are happening across industries in the US, you will see a lot more companies announcing, a lot more companies hunting for acquisitions. Okay, where do we come in as finance? Again, another area we've done very well from India, and also opportunities here in the US, is helping them with valuations, helping them run discounted cash flow models, helping them understand how to integrate companies as well once you've acquired a company. But what is becoming more and more, let's say, I would say, in demand from clients is not just the technical part of it, but can we as chartered accountants help them look at a business process in the companies that they're acquiring today and help them improve that business process and then help them outsource their process. Okay. I think Sanjay ji touched upon a bit in the earlier session on private equity. Private equity firms, they look for CFOs. They look for a lot of qualified chartered accountants who can not only bring finance technical part of the training or technical part of the expertise, but they are looking for a lot of people who can come in and say, here is how a finance function in a portfolio of companies should run. Which part of the process should I go and outsource, and give them synergies or economies of scale by helping them reduce costs. So when it comes to M&A, while the bread and butter of valuations, how do we go about it, complicated, it might also seem very, very intuitive. For somebody who's starting a new career, let me get into valuations, let me get into discounted cash flow approaches, let me understand how a firm is valued. Absolutely required, it's great. But if you combine that with an understanding of how to take an HR function and understand their process, how to take a finance function, understand their process, how to take an operations function, understand their process, and how do I go improve business processes, it's a huge, I would say, advantage compared to what you can bring. I won't go into regulatory compliance because I'm not an expert on it, to be honest. There is one more advent that I see, and I see some of my friends also in India starting, which is this concept of so-called remote CFOs or virtual CFOs. Okay, here is the other thing that is hit even Indian startups. Not every company can afford to put a full-time CFO. Okay, because the first thing you want to do if I am starting a startup, I don't want to spend money. I want to spend money on sales. I want to spend money on marketing. I want to spend money in building my product, building my service. But spending money on all the required things like finance, getting a CFO is never top of mind for these small, medium enterprises, the startup founders, etc. And also some of the startups we've seen in this space, they don't have the finance knowledge behind it. So what I've seen is a bit of I would say over the last 5 years, even more than 5 years, is companies that are coming with, virtual CFO service, a team of 5 chartered accountants coming together saying we do virtual CFO service, all 5 of them saying we have one single area of expertise and how 5 of us can combine that to become your CFO, part-time, full-time, whatever that company can afford. Okay. Look for an opportunity there. There are a lot of companies in India doing it, but also at the same time, I'm saying the opportunity there is significant because even these small, medium enterprises in the US, they are looking for virtual CFOs. And some of these, again, understand small, medium enterprises have also offshoots of people who worked in larger enterprises, didn't want to do and continue to work, have started their own businesses. So they do understand the power of outsourcing. They do understand the power of going to a CFO, even if that person is sitting, in a different time zone to do that. Let me plug one thing, which is, again, it's been, again, bread and butter for all the information technology services firms. But for us in finance is everything to do with ERP. Okay. So enterprise resource plannings, you have, all these major products that are getting, that are built, which is SAP, Oracle. You have a CRM product in Salesforce. Okay. We're not engineers. We're not going to be able to provide technology implementations to all these companies. But where we can come in is finance experts of understanding a system. And it's also very simple, saying how does accounting work in SAP? And a lot of companies so I'll give you one simple example. Let's say, I don't know, I'll take a name. Let's say Boeing. It's a large enterprise. Boeing runs its entire enterprise on SAP, okay, and spends a lot of money in SAP. But in order to implement SAP, they need certain finance and costing experts who understand accounting processes, who understand how this is set up, how is it customized, and a lot of it is outsourced to India. Okay, so that's why when you hear about some of these larger firms starting their global capability centers, this is what they're doing. So as careers, we could go and join these firms to become those finance accounting experts who understands technology and ERP systems as well. Okay. The other piece connected to it, right? What these firms are coming saying, let's say I'm a medium enterprise. I've gone and implemented a small accounting. We used to, in the olden days, we used to have Tally. We used to have all these different accounting modules. When you go to these larger accounting modules, they want third-party services to come and audit how efficiently these accounting modules are working for their companies. Where are the gaps that are not being filled? What are some of the reports that are coming out of these systems that are not coming through as well? So again, to me, that's an opportunity for us in the finance field. Let me just end with one last technical piece, which hasn't been explored, but is getting explored a lot in banking and financial services, is forensic accounting. This is another, banks with everything going global, everybody's heard about Bitcoin, artificial intelligence. People are getting more and more scared about data being compromised, fraud, cyber risk. Okay. And, what do you do with it? And where it comes from an accounting perspective is experts in forensic accounting. There is a huge gap for experts who can come and say, as an accountant, I know how to detect fraud. As an accountant, I know how to resolve disputes. Huge gap there. And to me, that is another opportunity is not been explored a lot. Okay. Let me just come to the what I prepared and I'll just reiterate the why and how part of it. Like I reiterated before I take questions. The why, we still have an advantage on cost. Huge advantage. We still have an advantage on time zone. It's great. Our expertise that we bring in, please don't lose that. And then, build partnerships with US-based firms. To me, that's a best way to start building relationships and trust with clients as well here. So I'll stop, the last 20 minutes of monologue, and I'm happy to take questions.
Nitish, you are on mute. Kindly unmute yourself.
जी एक सेकंड आप टेक ओवर करेंगे इसको.
ओके नितिश जी, मैं इसको भी
हाँ आप करो.
कॉन्फ्रेंस
में राजेश, थैंक यू सो मच. आपने हर एक एस्पेक्ट काफी अच्छे से बताया कि क्या क्या अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं किस किस फील्ड में स्पेसिफिकली. एंड आई गेस रूपा हैज सम डाउट. रूपा जी, आप प्लीज अपना डाउट पूछ लीजिए. काइंडली अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ.
Hello everyone. Um, it's a little different from what everyone is talking about here, but nevertheless, I had this question. I recently moved to, US. I'm a chartered
रूपा
accountant
जी,
from.
आपकी आवाज नहीं आ पा रही. आप एक बार दोबारा कोशिश करके देखिए. म्यूट अनम्यूट.
I can hear you, Rupa. I can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So I recently moved to, US. I have about 10 years of experience, audit experience in Big Four, and controllership experience of about, 3 years in an IT industry. So I am, trying to get into the job market and, look for opportunities, right? So I want to understand, like, where can I start? Should I, since I have a whole bit of audit experience, should I get into that, or should I get into the controllership type of role, which is what is my latest experience, and what kind of probably short term certifications I should aim to do, to quickly get some opportunity.
So here is what I would suggest, right? Controllership roles in the US, it is preferred that you have a CPA degree, because if you want to get into a controllership role which is linked to accounting, compliance, it's better to do that. I would say also, having spent so many years in auditing, it will not be worth, you reach out to the the ICAI chapters that we have across the entire US. Reach out saying, where there are opportunities. I'm sure there are a lot of small, medium, even chartered accountancy firms or CPA firms here in the US will continue to look for opportunities and experience that you have. And then the last thing I would say is, if it's in the IT services space, building a bit of commercial expertise in terms of how to structure deals, how to price deals will go a long way, because a lot of the controllership roles, like I said about auditing, compliance, etc., a lot of US companies want to outsource. But if you're located here in the US, it would be great if you could develop your expertise in the commercial space of it and understanding how to price a product, price a service, and do that. So, Rupert, do connect. We can send you through this forum, at least the New York chapter colleagues that we have. And then we can get you connected with the rest of the ICAI chapters as well in the US.
Sure. Thanks, Rajesh. I am on the West Coast. Actually, I'm based out of San Jose.
There is a San Francisco, San Jose chapter as well. We can get you connected.
Okay, thank you.
Vish Arunachalam is the chairman, I think, at the San Francisco chapter. So you can connect with him.
Yeah, sure.
Any other query? Any other participant who want to raise hand? Or there are few queries in the chat box.
Hi, Nitish, Naveen here. I'm unable to raise my hand. I don't know what the issue. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, you can go ahead, please, Naveen ji.
Hi, Rajesh. Nice catching up with you on this platform, and thank you for sharing your insights. So, Rajesh, I would want to add one thing, right? So, I hear most of the participants in terms of trying to explore opportunities within US or outside US for Indian CAs, right? I'm in a different state of problem, right? I have recently joined as a CFO in one of the smaller IT companies, very small IT companies. However, I found that this platform can be of some kind of a help for me. For example, someone shared some insights on the transfer pricing or the you touched upon effective tax rates. So I was kind of a struggling. Rather, in my current role, I'm struggling to find some kind of a person who can deliver such kind of a roles for me. Okay, so maybe Nitish or someone who has organized this meeting, right? My suggestion would be if we can have a platform where we can advertise some such kind of opportunities available or the people available to deliver such kind of a work that could help overall CA community.
Absolutely right, sir. Naveenji, I am also running a group on WhatsApp that is relating to the opportunities for chartered accountant in industry as well as in practice. If you have any specific requirement or any specific credentials, then you can share the same with me. I'll share my contact details with you as well, and then I can help both ends of the coins.
Yeah, maybe see, for the thank you, Nitish, for informing me. I'll drop you something because see, like I'm in a position, right? So, and as Rajesh was mentioning, so I am working in a firm which has been recently acquired by a PE. So, unlike the PE firm who do not hire a CFO, these PE firms basically believe in terms of bringing financial discipline, and that's why they decided to hire me as a like the CFO. And I am finding a lot of areas and avenues in terms of how we can rather how I can restructure their cost elements in terms of as I touched upon transfer pricing, effective tax rates, or even touching upon overall streamlining the processes and operations. And so I'll discuss with you maybe Nitish or maybe that could be so like someone was mentioning in San Jose, she's available. Maybe I can connect with that lady because I need someone to deliver some work in West Corp. But okay, that is something that will be helpful for me.
Thank you. So, Rajeshji, we have one more question in the chat box. It is relating to what are the opportunities in information system auditing space?
So at first, I'm not an expert there. So because I'm not, but I can tell you at least what what companies are looking at as well, right? I think one on information systems auditing is understanding the advent of AI. Okay, it is, we might think it's a foreign word. I can tell you the amount of requests that come from companies now in saying, how can I implement AI in order to do things 10 times faster or do it at 10 times lower cost? So when you're looking for opportunities in this particular space, look to get there are also these certifications that are now starting to become available saying, how can I become an AI certified information systems audit consultant? I would say that. Second, what is also happening is audit pick up specific areas of audit and the value of audit as well. Okay, and I would say in that particular space there is a lot on companies looking for internal audit of information systems versus usually a lot of companies will depending on what they can afford will not bring an external firm to do that. They will set up internal audit departments in order to do that on information systems. And then the third part is becoming a process expert, because one big part of information systems is just one is technology, but the biggest part of doing an information systems audit is understanding the processes and what you can bring in terms of improvement in business processes. I don't know if it answered the question, but I'm not an expert. So this is what I at least understand from my perspective.
Sir, can you give us an example of AI tool for internal audit?
I'll give you a simple piece. Okay. Lot of multinational firms in India, they've outsourced their expense management to India. Yeah. Now, what happens through expense management is you have thousands of employees who submit their expense sheets when they travel, submit their expenses, etc. One big challenge for a lot of companies was turning out to be saying, how do we first manage our travel costs? Okay. Second, what if there are employees that are, not claiming the right expenses that were not allowed as per the policy? What if there was, in some cases, there was fraud? All of this was becoming a big topic at the board levels of these companies to say what can you do proactively in terms of detecting fraud, in terms of complying with expense policies that the company has laid out, in terms of outliers, in terms of doing agreements with the travel desks. For example, a travel desk like American Express, or a travel desk like any travel desks in India, for example. So there has been a lot of advancement in this space where an AI tool has been implemented in order to go through all the data that usually what companies did is they set up 20 people in one team in India in order to go through all the expenses, bring out their audits. By the time they did the audit, they brought it up. It took them 6 months to come to conclusions. By the time either the employee would have left or it was too late to go back to the employee. But there is an AI tool. There are several AI tools that are now implemented for expense management to help them detect fraud, go through loads of data on expenses, understand where are the outliers, and provide that feedback to the head of finance or to the CFO of the company and saying, here are where the expenses are not as per compliance. And you have, see, the one debate, I'll just expand that a minute, okay? We keep hearing about AI tools like, Microsoft, these large companies bringing up AI tools, but there are a lot of small startups, small companies who are specializing in specific areas. Instead of going, unless you're a very large enterprise and you go to Microsoft and you say, give me all your AI tools that you're developing and use cases, one for expense, one for audit, one for employee payroll, one for HR experience, etc. You should go and identify these smaller companies that are developing very special AI tools that can be scaled for a small to medium firm as well. So a bit of an expanded answer, but it's a very, very proven use case and it's very, very heavily used by companies in India.
So the next question is, what are the resources available to develop additional skills to provide services in the US?
Sorry, Nitishji, can you repeat the question?
What are the resources available to develop additional skills to provide services in the US?
I would say, so depending on, let me take this question, depending on, what part of your career you are in. Okay, I heard a few of them who started, come fresh fellow chartered accountants who are starting their careers. There are people who are with, 15 years plus of experience. And there are even more experienced people on this call. I would say first for early fresh chartered accountants, I think to go and do certifications, like for example, SEMA, when it comes to, cost management, like there are these certifications that I'm sure all of us know. Do a few certifications in very specific areas, okay? Because the more certifications you do, the more expertise and depth that you get. See, one piece that US clients look for is, there is a very famous thing. So don't be 1 inch wide, but 1 mile deep. You can pick up an area, but if you can talk through an area, but you don't know the expertise in that area, not deep into that area, very quickly you will lose the mind share of those clients who are looking for those services. So first, look for certain certifications in specific areas, I would say. Second, you can do CPA from India now. If time permits and if that makes sense, I think do it. I think it's a very strong in addition to our, esteemed chartered accountancy profession, because you sort of gain clearly an advantage over fellow chartered accountants who are looking for, because when you do CPA and CA, you know both the US market and the Indian market and the laws, etc. as well to do it. I would say folks who are with, 15 years of experience. Okay, at least I can tell you from my very little experiences, over a period of time, in the corporate world, it was less to do with what technical expertise I had. It was more to do with, can I manage a team? Can I build a team? How do I manage stakeholders? How do I go manage board members? How do I go manage and work with clients and the business? So doing management certifications in terms of relationships, and it might seem like words, but there are specific courses in terms of, how do you manage stakeholders, or how do you scale businesses in a complex environment? You have these 6-month certifications from Harvard Business School, from these different schools, and there are also different schools in India. I have a few friends who've done 15 years of experience in the industry in India. For example, there is Indian Institute of Management in Kolkata. They offer these 6 months CFO courses as an example. So pick up those ones, because after a few years of experience, it's about networking, building relationships, your ability to build a large team, your ability to manage teams, manage people. That starts to gain importance, because there are two things that you can do after 15, 20 years of experience. One, you can become a specialist, which is through certifications, be the best in tax, be the best in internal audit, be the best in compliance. Or you can become a generalist, which is, finance, you work as a CFO, but you know how to build a team and find the right people and fit the right people in the best roles. So there are these courses available, those mid-management, senior management courses available to take as well, even in India now.
So we also have courses relating to information system audit like CISA from ISACA. One can also go for CFP if they are interested in forensic audit and forensic accounting. So similarly to that, CIA is also one of the options. We can be a CIA from India also. We can clear that exam within India also. Thanks, Rajesh, for this query. We have one more. What are the options available for an insolvency professional relating to cross-border insolvency?
I'm not an expert, so I don't think I'll be able to do justice to answer this. I'm not an expert on this.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So I'm not able to raise the voice.
Yeah, please. Sriranju, please.
Sriram Ramakrishnan here. See, I'm a 18-year-old experienced chartered accountant, 18 plus years of experience. I started with Deloitte. And after 12 years, I have been on my own as a freelancing consultant. Then I have started practice in 2022, along with my wife, who is also a fellow chartered accountant. Now, the thing is, we have got experience, varied experience in, say, one is good in internal audit, one is good in tax. Having been in the corporate finance, I have certain bit of skill set on CFO. The biggest problem is we cannot advertise. That is the biggest challenge in the current. Otherwise, we would have been able to capture clients in a different way. Now, in US being a good market, I've been hearing a lot about the Middle East, where it has been picking up, where the services of chartered accountants has been on the uprise. With respect to US, we are not able to really exactly know how to get connected. Getting into the clients, yes, as Mr. Rajesh already mentioned, yes, we are trying to, but how to reach? There are chapters over there, but how to build the connect is something which is a very dark side till now. So exactly, that is where we are stuck. We are good in, I personally feel that skill set is fine, or whichever area. If I'm good in internal audit, I've been there for at least 15 to 18 years. And the exposure with one of the big four has enhanced that skill set, definitely. That has been the base. But now, how does somebody perceive me as a skilled person is something which we are really not able to see. And is there I've been hearing people say that you need to have a PCAB certification. My firm is only 2 years old. It's 2022 we have started. So should I have a PCAB registration to get
outsourced work from US. We are also specializing in virtual CFO services. So exactly, if there can be an objective measure, probably I thought I could seek help.
See, it's a very good question, Sriram, and I think somebody earlier asked as well, right? How do you get this objectively? Because it's easy to say build relationships, it's easy to say do this, do that, right? But how to make it real? Okay, that's why I come to one aspect that I earlier highlighted as well. Maybe I need to also understand. See, the to me a very efficient way and a faster way, because you can't spend the next 10 years trying to find relationships, until then you'll be retired, so, or whatever, whenever you want to retire. One piece to do that is find CPA firms in the US and reach out to them to build partnerships. And I think I mentioned it twice earlier as well, because I've seen many people succeeding. And um, I can ask in the chapter as a, like, if let's say, for example, you want a CPA firm in New Jersey or CPA firm in New York, etc. Okay. That is one way to get started, because if you put it out in the wider forum, the opportunities are so much. The number of our fellow chartered accountants who are running these outsourced services from India are also many. So it will happen through network, but the first port of call would be certain CPA firms that are based in the US who are ready to build those partnerships with you, and that expertise that you bring as well. Okay, I would say that. Second, what happens is, so I know there are these forums that get organized in India, where you have certain multinational US companies coming, setting up these forums, or sorry, these forums that are, they're like, there's a conference for 2 days, you go and meet people, etc. And I don't know, one last piece, when this whole Gift City thing was coming up, there were a lot of chartered accountants who had gone to these forums set up with companies coming in there. I would suggest pick very objectively 3 or 4 conferences that are available in India and participate in them. Because the more you meet people there, the more you'll be able to understand what they're looking for. And you have, that is also a good opportunity when people travel from the US, come to these forums and build your network. And then the third part, you've been in the corporate side of the world, you've been with the Big Four, right? That to me is your biggest network. See, one thing you realize is, once you said you spent a few years with the Big Four, what happens is we get so busy with our own work that we forget the connects and the contacts we've built over all these years. Taking time out and reaching out to them saying, I will come whichever city you are in, or whichever, if you're in my city, come, I want to meet you for lunch, coffee. Nobody will say no, your older contacts. But that to me is another very powerful one that we underestimate in the corporate world. So try and reach out to them saying, what is happening? Like, go reach out to your Deloitte ex-colleagues at Deloitte saying, what is happening? Is there a piece of work? Did they see a client which Deloitte could not address, but you could go address? I'm trying to be as objective and real as possible versus a broad-based brush on it.
Right. Thank you for that insight, sir. Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you, sir. Even I was looking for that. I was able to ask the question, and the answer was very nice. The second conference thing, no, I think that will really work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
One solution to all the queries: networking and networking. Right? And I'll also add to this, Sriramji, you were saying that we are not allowed to advertise. I'll suggest, but if you are an expert in field, you start writing articles, or you start, taking out columns, reaching out to various, newsletters of the chapters or branches, and you can publish your comments on that. This will, add value to your profile, and you can post it on LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn is a very powerful social media for professionals. So if you keep posting regularly on a particular topic, for example, you are an expert in internal audit, you try to post on every Monday morning, a post on internal audit on a particular segment. This will definitely give you build connection for you in the specific field. This is my, suggestion from my limited experience that I have. Right?
Oh, great. Posting means where, sir? Sorry, I could not get that. Posting articles in
on either on LinkedIn or on various
okay.
newsletters that are being circulated by various branches of ICI.
Okay. Fair
Right.
enough, sir.
So we have the chairman of the Sonipat branch also with us, Hitesh Dolgi. You can also connect with him and you can also share your articles with him. He will get it published in the newsletter of the branch. So every month they come up with the newsletter.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Can I expand a bit on this?
Yeah, sure, sir, sure.
No, just I want to, what is happening today is everybody is on social media and everybody is virtual. Okay. What happens is before you go and talk to somebody, your whole Janam Patri is on the social media. So if you contribute to these articles, you come as, one of the top voices on LinkedIn, you contribute and you become an expert. That builds a lot of background and expertise, and it already talks on behalf of you before you meet the person. So Initiji has a very, 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 very valid point. Please expand your presence on forums like LinkedIn, where you can contribute, bring your expertise. There are a lot of people who will read into it. And, it's like, I give you a simple example. If I'm going and meeting a client, the first thing I do is I go on LinkedIn and understand what the client is, where does he or she come from. Like I know a lot of things about the professional careers of these clients before I go and meet them. Similarly, if somebody is Sriram wanting to reach out to you, they will look up to your profile and saying where is Sriram excelling in, what's his expertise. So.
Fair enough. But one follow-up question, sir. So this CPA, doing CPA, if I have to attract a US, even accounting firm or an outsource firm, doing CPA, is it like, not saying mandatory, but is it going to be influencing the decision more? Because I am a chartered accountant, I have qualified my cost accountancy and also my company secretaryship in India. Oh, again, I have to go and do the same. Again, after 15 years, you're wanting me to again redo the same thing or do a SEMA. I'm fine with again studying or making things possible to get into it. But is it the go-to function or is there any other option?
I wouldn't say that, Sriram. So I can, at least within our chapter, our head of events and memberships, his name is Devang Prajapati. He's a CPA, a practicing tax person. Reach out to him. I'm sure he'll give you more relevant information. But I'll give you one aspect on it, okay? More and more certifications is not going to help you beyond a point. It helps you build your expertise. It's a very interesting thing that I didn't know until a few years ago in the US. Tax filings can be done by anybody in the US. You don't need to be a CPA. This is where there's so much of work being outsourced by CPA firms in the US to fellow chartered accountants in India. Because you don't need a CPA degree to do a tax filing in the US.
Right.
Yeah, and Devang would be able to sort of clarify this much better because I was also a bit surprised, because how can somebody do tax filing without having a chartered accountancy degree, for example? But that is the reality. So what CPAs can help is establish that credibility that US laws, US accounting. And also the last thing I would say, a lot of firms stay away from setting up front-end auditing shops in the US because there is also liability. Because if you write a management report for a company in the US and then there is some accounting fraud declared, the risks of you going completely bankrupt is very high. So a lot of these medium, small enterprise, that's why a lot of the auditing work is done by the big fours here in the US or the large companies in the US, not by small, medium, because the liability is huge. But a lot of the tax work is spread across the globe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh. There are no more questions in the chat box. If anyone has any other query, they can unmute themselves and they can ask, or they can raise their hand.
So Nitish, maybe just to complement Sriram, right? So not everything would be requiring a specific degree or a skill, right? So maybe he can partner with someone who is already having a CPA degree and can get into the US thing. So
Absolutely, sir. Sir, we have one request from the participants, Rajesh ji. They needed to have your email ID. Is it possible? Can you share the same, sir?
Sure, no worries.
Okay. So no more queries. I'll request Priya ji, who is also in the participant list. She can share her words of wisdom, please. Priya ji. Priya ji, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, hi everyone, and thank you. Thank you for such an informative session. It was of a great help, Rajesh sir. I got to learn a lot about, the opportunities in my profession. I am also a recently qualified chartered accountant, and thanks a lot for all the information and the guidance.
Thank you, Priya ji. Now, just to conclude, we have with us Paramjit Singh ji. Is he here? I think he is not there. So, Hitesh ji, you can deliver the concluding remarks then.
So thank you, Nitish bhai, and thank you, Rajesh sir, for your valuable time and all the participants. एक दिन के अंदर, I guess it was only 36 hours before we planned the event, and काफी जगह से, I guess more than 30 cities we have participants from more than 30 cities. और इस सेशन के बाद मेरे को जो चीजें सामने निकल के आई कि नेटवर्किंग इज द मेन थिंग. और एक चीज, अगर आपने सीपीए यूएस से कर रखी है तो सीपीए का भी सर्कल आपका एड ऑन हो जाएगा. इट विल आल्सो हेल्प इन नेटवर्किंग. और ऑल्सो जितना आई एम अ सीपीए आयरलैंड, तो सीपीए आयरलैंड का भी वेबसाइट एंड जो वहाँ पे फॉर्म्स वगैरह है, तो काफी हेल्प होता है उस चीज के अंदर. और आप श्रीराम जी, अगर आप कर सकते हैं, अगर इफ यू हैव पैशन, तो सर सीपीए यूएस से भी बेटर. दैट्स व्हाट आई सजेस्ट यू कि आप कोशिश करें. नहीं तो जैसा गुप्ता जी ने कहा था कि इकट्ठा आप एक फॉर्म जोड़ सकते हैं, अ पर्सन हु इज अ सीपीए सीपीए यूएस से, तो उस चीज से भी काम हो सकता है. तो आप सबको मैं ये वीडियो यूट्यूब पे भी है, तो मैं लिंक आप सबको शेयर कर दूंगा उस पर. अगर इनकेस कोई ने लेट ज्वाइन किया, किसी को और को शेयर करना है. फ्यूचर में भी हम ऐसे सेशंस लाते रहेंगे. एंड राजेश जी, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर गिविंग योर वैल्यूएबल टाइम. सेशन करते हैं इंक्लूड.
No, thank you. It's a privilege. So thank you for having me to speak as well. It's a really privilege and honor. So, and it's glad I've made new connections. So networking.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you all the participants.
उम्मीद करते सर नेक्स्ट ईयर इन पर्सन आपसे मिले. हम थैंक यू करें.
Be a pleasure. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.